Okay, there you go. Okay, I'm Bobby. I'm super easy. Don't get caught up on the whole works at Google thing. Don't worry about that. I'm just a regular person. Grew up in Prince George's County, went to Eleanor Roosevelt High School. My wife also went to UMBC, so I'm a proud graduate, so I got a degree and a wife here. So I'm very thankful that you all decided to have me back, so thank you. Before I get started, how many people feel like you don't quite get all the cloud and AI stuff? Does it seem confusing a little bit? You're not sure what all the hype is about, so I want to come get y'all tonight. We're not going to try to go deeper, we want to make it accessible. Okay, so here's what I want to do. So I want to give a quick intro. I want to talk about some of the beautiful chaos that's been a part of my life recently. I want to talk about where AI fits, give you some vocabulary, weave in some career insights I call Bobbyisms, some things that I've picked up over the years so you all can learn from some of my mistakes. I'll give you some takeaways and then we'll have some time for Q&A. Does that work? Okay, all right, so a little bit about me. So one, I get to go around and represent Google at a lot of different events. That's me in Houston and Vegas, and on a small platform, a large platform, New York, Charlotte. And I get to go represent Google at a bunch of different things. But one of the things you all may not know, besides the fact that I made up my own title, Cloud Therapist is not really a thing, I made it up. But I almost failed kindergarten, I had a speech impediment. And so it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? One of the people that I most admire as a public speaker is a guy named James Earl Jones, right? Darth Vader, Mufasa. How many know that he had a speech impediment that was so bad, he was basically mute from kindergarten to his freshman year of high school. He didn't speak. So it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? So if there are things that you're fighting that are bumps in the road, it's okay, push through that, it's gonna be okay. So a little bit about my origin story. So grew up in Greenbelt, Maryland, went to Eleanor Roosevelt High School, ended up at UMBC, met my wife the first day of summer bridge and found out that that ended up being my wife. So the thing that's interesting is, my wife was an M7 as well, is an M7. She would say that she's smarter than me. I'm gonna have to agree with her. I've been married 25 years, so I'm gonna say yes, that's true. But after UMBC, we went to University of Michigan. After that, went to Intel and Bank of America. I did 10 years of cloud computing startups, which I'm gonna give you kind of conflicting advice. Do startups, but just know that 90% of startups don't work, right? So like, take a risk, but know that they don't always work out. And I've been at Google about 3 years now. This is actually a picture of me a couple weeks ago in Korea. I took UMBC with me, so this is me in Seoul taking a picture from the hotel, because I got to go over there and meet with Samsung and some of our other customers. But Maryland, Michigan, Oregon, and North Carolina was my path in terms of how I got to where we are today in terms of where we live. So I want to give you a little bit about AI and cloud and context, but I think any good AI talk has to start with a good vacation story, right? So this summer, my wife decided, because I've got a daughter who's in high school, and this really messes me up, right? Because I remember sitting in y'all's seat, my daughter's about the same age, she turns 18 on Saturday. And because my daughter's going away, my wife is like, we need to do some epic vacations, right? Sounds like a good idea, kind of. So we decided to do a Mediterranean cruise this summer, right? Amazing, Amalfi Coast, France, Spain, Italy, all of that, right? Two things can be true the older you get in life. Things can be great and terrible at the same time. Well, the trip was amazing, but the travel was horrific. So let me kind of rewind it for you real quick. So Wednesday, we were supposed to leave Charlotte to hit the first leg of this trip, right? 3 B's for this trip. First, Barcelona, right? Hang out in Barcelona for a little bit, catch a cruise ship. By the way, there were 3 other UMBC graduates on the cruise ship who we met for vacation, so some of the faces in here, you'll still be vacationing with years later. Barcelona, get on the boat, the cruise ship, and then do my wife's birthday in Paris, right? 3 B's. Leave Charlotte Wednesday, supposed to get to Barcelona Thursday, hang out in Barcelona, boat leaves on Sunday, right? But why did we get to Barcelona on Sunday and they lost 2 of our bags? Oh, I know, you felt that, right? This was tough. You don't know what life is like until you go on a 7-day cruise with your wife for 25 years and they forget your wife's bag. Ooh, yeah, you felt that, right? That was tough. I think the low point for us was, by the way, there were 29 people on this trip. My wife has been planning this for 2 years. In-laws are there, sisters there, nephews. Y'all are shaking your head like, Bobby, where you going with this? This better get better sometime soon. Wednesday, we're supposed to leave Charlotte. Thursday, get to Barcelona. Both departs when? Sunday, right? Sunday. Friday, we're still in Charlotte. This isn't going right, Bobby. Friday, we're still in Charlotte. Everyone else is in Barcelona. Barcelona's amazing. Where are you? I'm in Charlotte. So we're on the tarmac in Charlotte, and the pilot gets on and says, "You're probably wondering why we didn't take off yet." I'm like, "Yeah, man, we're trying to get there." He said, "There's no baggage on the plane. The baggage crew didn't show up today." And I'm like, "Okay." So we had to wait for another baggage crew to come to load up the plane, which caused us to get to New York late because at this point, the airline had kind of mangled up. I won't say the name of the airline because this is being recorded. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but y'all can probably figure it out because I live in Charlotte. But the airline had mangled our itinerary so badly, they changed it like 30 times at this point. So it's Friday. By the way, our bag is in Miami. Our check bag is in Miami. We're on the tarmac in Charlotte. They're going to send us Charlotte to New York to Casablanca to Barcelona is what they're going to do, right? So Friday, because the baggage got loaded late, we get to New York late. We get to Terminal 8. We got to run to Terminal 1. And we get to the counter for the Casablanca flight, which leaves at 8:50. We get to the counter at 7:53. And the gentleman says, "I can't let you board this flight because we close boarding an hour ahead of time. You miss about 3 minutes because of the baggage," right? So at this point, my daughter's crying. My son is like, "We should just go back home." My wife is disgusted. And so I'm talking to this particular airline to try to figure out what we're going to do. And they said, "We can get you to Barcelona on Monday." When is the boat leaving? The boat, so that doesn't work, right? You had one job, and clearly you failed at that job. And so at this point, it's Friday night. The boat leaves on Sunday. All the family is there. They can't get us there until Monday. And so we've got to figure something out. So I'm talking to the airline. I'm like, "Can you get me across the pond? Can you get me to Europe? Can you get me to Madrid or London or something?" And so as I'm talking to the person, they say, "Okay, look, we can do, you're in New York now. We can do New York to Charlotte to Boston to Madrid to Barcelona." I'm like, "That's a hot mess, right?" I said, can you pick it up from Boston?" And so they said, "Yeah, but how are you going to get there?" So we rent a car at 11 o'clock at night and drive from New York to Boston. We get to Boston 3:30 in the morning. On Saturday, the boat leaves Sunday. We board the plane in Boston on Saturday afternoon, but they make us check our carry-on bags. Yeah, I know, somebody felt that. This was tough. And so we get to Barcelona finally. My bag comes out, my daughter's bag comes out, my son's bag doesn't come out, and my wife's bag doesn't come out. So Sunday, we get there, the airline's like, "This happens all the time." Well, that's a problem if this happens all the time, but this happens all the time. There's another flight coming, we're going to bring your bag to the port for Royal Caribbean, we got you. You know, Sunday at 6 o'clock rolls around and my wife still has no bag, right? My son, he can work it out. My wife has no bag. That's the crisis. And so the next day, on Monday, we're going to be in Mallorca, Spain, where Rafa Nadal is from, the tennis player. They said, "Well, bring your bag to Spain." No bag in Spain. So we ended up getting off the boat and buying clothes. Tuesday, they said, "You're going to be in Marseille, France. We got you in France." Do you know there was a dock worker strike in France? The boat didn't even stop. We just keep trying. You're like, "Bobby, where are you going with this," right? So, long story short, it ended up being an amazing trip, amazing vacation, but the travel to get there was crazy. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because this is a lot how people feel about technology sometimes. Because you can feel like you're getting left behind. Everybody else is there having a good time. Everyone else is there making a bunch of money, having all these jobs, getting internships, and I don't even understand how I'm actually going to get there. I think my mic went out.
Here is the technology.
Sorry, we'll work it out. All right, can you all hear me? I know you're thinking, "But Bobby, what happened to the bags?" Right? Right as the mic went out. So anyway, so we get there, and the trip ends up working out. My point about all this is, if you feel like you've been left behind, you feel like sometimes things are harder than they should be, sometimes you might even feel like, is it even worth going through all of this? Some of you might be going through studying and classes and feel like, "I want to get there, Bobby, but I don't know if I'm going to make it because there's so many other things that I'm getting tripped up on." So let me give you a picture for this. Cloud feels like a beautiful city, but I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. AI, on the other hand, feels like a beautiful path to nowhere paved with chatbots. And so when people struggle with technology, it can feel like that cruise ship, like everybody else is there having a good time, and I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. It's costing more and taking longer. But I want to encourage you all, don't feel like you're getting left behind and the door is closing on you. It's really, really early in technology, and even if it feels like it's really difficult, it'll still be worth it, right? That trip was amazing. Again, the travel was crazy. I'm going to throw the airline under the bus at another time. But it's worth it when you get there because there are people who are waiting for you, and it's going to be worth it in the end. One thing that's interesting about the trip, too, there were a lot of different people on this particular trip, like my in-laws who were 70 plus years old. Reflecting on this later, we were the best ones to go through all this travel drama. Because I travel all the time for work, and my wife and I are engineers, and we can figure stuff out. When you think about technology, cloud, and AI, and all the things that are happening right now, understand that you all are probably the best people in your family equipped to figure this stuff out. You all are built for this. It's a challenging time, it's an exciting time, but this is one of the things I want you to reflect on. As you think about all these new things you're being exposed to, everything new isn't good and everything old isn't bad. Life going forward is going to be about mastering what I call the remix. What are the new things that are worth embracing and the old things that are worth retaining? Does that make sense? So even if you're going into uncharted territory that feels difficult, like navigating how to get to a boat that seems like you're never going to get there, you're built for this. The classes you're taking, the experience you have, the people in your family, you all are better equipped than anyone else you know. Now what else do we need to understand? Learn all you can, but don't forget all you know. Soak up all the new resources, the podcasts, the research papers, and all of that. But understand that you're not supposed to wipe your brain and turn off all the things that you know. As you move into the future where technology is going, bring everything you are with you. Bring those family members, bring those experiences, those jobs. Anybody here ever worked in fast food before? Excellent. Do you think they're going to need technology in fast food? Are they going to need AI in fast food? Are they going to need cloud? Absolutely. Take all of that with you, right? Don't leave any of that behind. So, if I could give you a picture for cloud versus AI, right? It would be like this. AI is to cloud as Kobe is to Michael. Right? Why? Does Kobe learn how to play basketball without Michael? Yes, he does. But did it accelerate his learning journey having Michael's coach and Michael's trainer and Michael's offense? Cloud absolutely laid the foundation for AI. Now you're probably thinking, Bobby, I don't understand what cloud is in the first place. I got you. All right? Here we go. What is the cloud? You ready? It's going to blow your mind. All right. What is the cloud? This is Captain Cookout. Captain Cookout's an AI-generated character. He is saving the world from the evil forces of bad macaroni and cheese and bland potato salad, right? Because anybody here been to the family cookout and they ask you to bring paper plates or napkins or whatever? Okay, thank you for being honest, brother, I see you. That's because they're trying to be nice and say that's not your ministry to bring some of those other more complicated dishes, right? So Captain Cookout is here for those of us who have not yet been promoted to potato salad and macaroni and cheese. And so we're going to illustrate his use case by talking about the cloud, okay? Who's coming with me? You ready? All right, here we go. So, what do you need? First of all, if Captain Cookout's going to make a dish that I can bring to the cookout and be credible, he needs ingredients, right? Like a grocery store. He needs to be able to access all the things that go into that dish. He needs a test kitchen where he can practice some of those different recipes, right? And if he comes up with a recipe that's good, he needs a way to a commercial kitchen to make that recipe at scale. If he comes up with a recipe at scale, he needs a way to distribute that to people that are willing to pay for it, right? And then with all that infrastructure that he's paying for, he wants to do OPEX or rent as opposed to CAPEX and buy. So he wants to do all of these things without putting out a bunch of money. He wants to pay as he goes so that he can experiment as he's working stuff out. Does that make sense? So what is the cloud? The cloud is a system of essentially unlimited resources, experimentation, scale, distribution, and flexible pay. That's what it is. And that allows you to experiment more quickly to come up with things like generative AI and large language models that are revolutionizing the things that we do today. Make sense? Okay, all right. Now, what is AI? Simple definition. It's essentially where computers are able to do things that usually require human intelligence, and it is something that typically is also related to these other concepts. So machine learning, natural language processing, computer vision, those are all aspects of AI. Think of AI as like this big bubble, and all of these concepts are like smaller bubbles, like a Venn diagram inside of AI, okay? Now, what blew the roof off of this was generative AI. Because generative AI doesn't just give us answers back, it creates new things, right? Like Captain Cookout was generative AI creating that, asked for a black superhero who was going to save me from the evil forces of cookout bad dishes, and that's what Jim and I came up with. And so the point about this is, so cloud, right, system of all these things to experiment, AI, essentially being able to do things that used to require human intelligence.
But how do we bring all of this together, right? Because it seems like everybody's talking about AI, but everybody doesn't necessarily understand AI. So this is my executive summary of AI, okay? When I go talk to executives and do keynotes and all that, this is what I tell them. You ready? You sure? Well, don't tell them I told you all this because they think they're special. Y'all are more special because you're students. You ready? Okay, here it is. AI is not the thing. AI is the thing that makes the thing better. A lot of people focus on AI as if that's all that matters. AI complements something else that's more important, right? AI would be like the sauce or the spice that makes the dish better. Now, you know when I go around the country, and even to other parts of the world, China, Korea, and things like that, I have to take Prince George's County with me. And so to say AI is kind of like mambo sauce that you would put on chicken wings, right? Because you wouldn't just put mambo sauce on the plate and call that a meal, right? If you put mambo sauce on bad chicken wings, that's a bad dish, right? If you put mambo sauce on the plate, it's a good taste, but people are going to be hungry. AI is a complement. It's not the thing. It's the thing that makes the thing better. Does that make sense? So, why does this matter? Because we have this huge AI junk drawer right now. I want to give you a little bit of vocabulary to break AI down into different things. So, a lot of people call everything AI, which means that we have very little clarity on what it actually means. So, two concepts you should understand. Training versus inference. Very simply, training is when AI is on the practice court. Inference is when it gets in the game. So what does that mean? Anyone heard of things like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, things like that? Those are large language models that are often trained, but when you put them into practice, when you start to interact with them, or you put them on a phone, or you put them in a car, that's when you're moving to inference. Training costs a lot of money. Inference is when the company actually adds value to your life, right? You don't benefit from a company training a model until they put it into practice. That's inference. That makes sense? Okay, now a couple other things. Ways to look at this. What do we want to do with AI? So there's some different options. If you're someone who wants to build or extend models, you're dealing with AI-optimized infrastructure. So things like GKE, GPUs, TPUs, NVIDIA, right? One of the most valuable companies in the world. They make GPUs. That's AI infrastructure. If you're a person who works on building out models, that's your pocket. If you're someone who wants to embed models, you're looking at a higher level service like a model as a service or something like a Vertex AI product that Google has. And if you're a typical user who just wants to consume AI, you're looking at more prepackaged solutions or productivity assistance, right? So if you want to just consume AI, you're not going to be over there in the GPU category. Make sense? Now, the other way you can look at this is by who is it for? If you're a data scientist, you're likely looking to build or extend models. If you're an app builder or developer, you're likely looking to embed models. And if you're a cloud user, you're looking to consume models, right? So if you hear someone talk about models and you're not a data scientist, you're probably going to be one of these other two circles. Does that make sense? Right? Different roles. Okay, so models themselves are not enough, right? Because models are like the spice in the mambo sauce, right? And so what does that mean? So innovation is going to be a combination of the things that we're talking about in this picture. So innovation is going to happen at the intersection of where the model lives and where the app runs. Let me unpack this a little bit. So I might pull a model like a Claude or a Gemini or something like that out of something like Vertex, but I need to connect that to an application that runs in Cloud Run or GKE. Did you peep the shirt? So these are actually two of the products that I represent. So Cloud Run and GKE are my products, but think of these as representing where your code runs. How many people here are application developers or software engineers, right? So you need a model, but you need to develop an application that can talk to the model to get value out of it, right? So if you only have a model, you just have sauce or spice. You don't have a finished dish that can actually do something for someone. So you might have a model in Vertex and connect that to code running in Cloud Run. You might have a model in Vertex and connect that to GKE. Each of these dotted lines are like logical combinations that you can use to build something valuable. If you just have the left side without the right side, though, you don't have a finished dish that's going to solve a customer problem. Make sense? Okay. All right, so in the corporate world, we talk a lot about people, process, technology. Anybody heard that, like in an internship, or read that before? I actually don't like this. I think this is better. I think people, process, problem is better. People, process, problem, and then technology just kind of fades into the background. So Would you ever have someone come over to your house and say, hey, look at the electricity in my walls? Or would you talk about what you're doing with the electricity? That's what we're going to evolve to, right? You talk about the television or the Tesla charger or something cool in your house. You don't talk about what's happening behind the walls. Technology is going to fade away. AI is even going to fade away, and you're going to talk about what you do with it. But the main part about this is think about the problem you're trying to solve and who you're solving it for. So when you advance in technology, I want you to see your grandmother's face, see your cousin's face, see your neighbor's face. Think about the person who you're trying to solve a problem for so you don't get so caught up in technology that you're talking over people's heads and not being relevant. All right, so I want to challenge you with something. When we talk about change and AI and cloud and transformation and all these things, we're often talking about new things, right? We want to do something new, but I want to challenge you that there are different kinds of new. Now, English is word poor, so I'm going to borrow from Greek a little bit to help me out. There are two kinds of new. There's neos and there's kainos. Neos is like a new pair of shoes. Kainos is like a jetpack. So think of neos like a new iteration of a recipe or something that already exists, and kainos being like something that didn't exist before, right? And so the point about this is when you're trying to do new things, make sure you're clear about what type of new you're talking about. So here's the question, all right? I want you to marinate on this, all right? This is so simple, it's almost deep at the same time. So here's the question. Can you create fresh bread from an old recipe? You got it? Can you create fresh bread from an old recipe? What do you all think? Yes, you can create fresh bread from an old recipe, but that may not be a new outcome. So if you went to Thanksgiving last year and you ate that pound cake and that put you to sleep after that, and they make it again, it's going to put you to sleep again, right? It's fresh, but it's not a new outcome. So make sure that you're talking about and thinking about what is the true outcome that you're trying to achieve, right? And so there are a couple different things we also have to think about in terms of AI vocabulary. Do we want to build AI? Do we want to build with AI, or do we want to use AI? So for those of us, how many software engineers again do we have in here? People that are coding or building, computer science, computer engineers, okay, excellent. So often you might use a company like Google Cloud to be your platform to build AI. Those are people that are often work with large language models and things like that. You can build AI, you can inject AI into your software development process, or you can use AI. And typically when you use AI, you're using it for four things: insight, increase, improvement, or innovation. Most of us are going to be in the category of using AI, not building AI or coding with AI. Why do I say this? Because it can often feel like if you're not a software developer, you're going to get left behind in terms of where technology is going. That's absolutely not true. So, what's an example of that? Anybody here heard of Notebook.LM before? This is the new hotness. You need to try this like yesterday. This is amazing. It's amazing. As a research tool, as a synthesis tool, there's so many things that are possible. This is an example of using AI that you didn't build that can absolutely make your life better, right? There's a lot of things in technology that can be used for bad, but there's a lot that can be used for good. Try it out, check it out. You can hook it to sources like papers and notes. It can come up with study guides, frequently asked questions. I hooked this up to a sermon I did on YouTube. It came up with a study guide, and it even generated an AI podcast of two AI characters as if they were sitting in the congregation listening to the sermon, and everything was anchored in what I talked about. Think about loading in the research paper of a professor and being able to interact via chat with AI that answers the questions based on what the professor talked about in that paper. Again, check it out. Using AI is with something that all of us need to be good at. Make sense? Even if you're not building AI or building with AI, this is something that's relevant for everybody. Okay, some takeaways. We talked about Kobe and Michael. We're not going to be Kobe and Michael. We're going to be more like LeBron, right? LeBron is the same LeBron in Cleveland or Miami or in LA, right? He takes his brand with him to those different teams. He didn't forget how to play basketball when he went from one team to the next, right? You're going to be that same way. You may be in data science today, or you may be in artificial intelligence tomorrow. You take yourself with you to all those different experiences, right? And just because your logo or your jersey changes doesn't mean you're starting from scratch. All of those experiences go with you to the new team with a new concept, right? You're not going to retire from one team for 20 years and get a gold watch. Think about being fungible and flexible and moving between different paradigms and shifting between different things. So be LeBron, don't be Kobe or Michael, right? I'm ignoring the Wizards, Michael. We're just going to pretend he played for the Bulls this whole time. But be the person who's able to bounce between different concepts and take who you are to those different avenues, okay? All right, so my personal mantra is that technology is the easy part, because I always want to make sure that we don't focus on the tech and forget the people. The longer version is tech is the easy part, people are the best part, behavior is the hard part, humility is the worst part. It is real easy to get puffed up and full of ourselves just because we know a little bit more about tech than someone else does. But the reality is the technology is the part above the surface. If you know anything about icebergs, most of it is under the water that you can't see. So even as you're understanding tech, understand how to translate that to make life better for people, add value, solve a problem, and solve challenges, and that's going to be how we make a difference with the things we learn, okay? All right. I think we're going to do some questions. Let me share a couple takeaways for you. One, the first QR code are learning paths in generative AI. Google actually just released a few things, I think 2 days ago, that are really, really cool. If you want to learn about AI, I highly recommend checking that out. This actually takes you to some courses you can take advantage of. Number two, if you're interested in maybe working at Google one day, especially applying for internships, that second QR code will take you to that. And then if you want to learn about AI a little bit at a time, Richard Seroter is Google's chief cloud evangelist, and he's actually the guy that hired me. He puts out a daily email full of stuff in tech and AI that will make you smarter if you read it. So go check out his website, subscribe to the daily email. It'll send stuff right to your inbox. It'll make you level up if you check that out every day. All right? I think that's my time. We're going to take some questions now. Hopefully that made sense. All right?
I'm going to bring this mic out for anyone with questions.
You all are students, so I reserve the right to say you're smarter than me and I don't know.
Well, if you could just come on up, 'cause that way it's easier. It's a lot of here. Okay, it's not working. I tried that one, see if it's working. Good microphone.
Testing.
Everybody try out different things. Thank you.
Hi, hello, good evening. I just want to start off by saying I love everything you said, and I love like all the quotes you said, especially when you talked about, oh, sorry, I wrote this down, but I can't remember, but wonderful, I love your presentation. But I had a question because you did say that you told other people something, and they thought they were special, but you also made us believe we were special, so how do we know you're not lying to us?
So, great question. So the reality, I'm being a little facetious. Honestly, I feel like everyone I have the privilege of being in front of is special. That's the truth, right? And I think that if I could pick kind of more special, you all are our future. And I remember sitting in your seat umpteen years ago. I'm not going to date myself, but I remember sitting in your seat, and I'm really privileged to have a chance to come back and share with you all. And I want to just let you know that you all can accomplish so many different things that we haven't even thought about. People in this room are going to solve. And so I do feel like you all are special. The executives I talk to at Wells Fargo are special. The people I talk to at Samsung and Korea are special in different ways, because people matter a lot. But you all are the future. You all are the future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.